Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be having a long chat about what is currently going on in my life. I unintentionally have avoided filming this, but I'm gonna cut right to the chase. I am pregnant. I am currently sitting in front of you at 27 weeks into my pregnancy. So it's been a really long time. And like I said, it wasn't intentional that I was trying not to talk about it. I just hadn't found the time mentally, emotionally, and also legitimately the time to be able to talk about all of it with you. So I'm going to explain why that has led me to be a lot more spotty and inconsistent on my YouTube channel. I also will then talk about kind of like the future of what this channel is going to consist of. And for those of you who'd like to know actual details about my pregnancy, I figured I could just put it all into one video, but because I am so deep in my pregnancy, it will take us a long time to talk all about it. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and discuss. So as you have noticed, it's been really difficult for me to post videos. Getting ready for a baby is a ton of work. It reminds me really similarly to wedding planning in the sense that there are these long stretches of time where over the summer, for example, when I'm on summer break and I'm not teaching, theoretically I could have gotten a lot of stuff done, but at the same time, you can't get a lot of stuff done because you have to wait to get far enough along in your pregnancy. So my weekends have just gotten really wild with baby preparation. We have done a multitude of different baby classes that we're currently enrolled in or have enrolled in. We have lots of appointments to go to, and I am going to Boston, which is inconvenient from where we bought our house last year, but I wasn't going to change doctors after getting pregnant. So it's a lot of like time consumption getting in and out of Boston for those appointments, and then just doing things like changing our entire house to accommodate the room that I used to film in. Although like this might look like the same room, it's not. I have since moved out of that room, my like classroom slash vanity, which was that space, and also Ben's office. With the weirdness of the pandemic, we've cleared that room out and thus had to rearrange other pieces of our house. So I don't really have a like dedicated or consistent filming area. So that's one struggle for why I haven't had a ton of videos posted. And also just time. I am working full time. And so this is not, sadly, not a profitable enough career for me that I can't walk away from teaching and do this. So I have to really build this in more as a hobby when I have free time, and the plate is getting more and more full. In that same vein, that's also why, like over the summer, for example, I questioned continuing with my channel because I thought to myself, like as my schedule gets busier and busier, like something has to give, something has to change. I can't keep taking on more and more, and my future child deserves the best of me, all of me. That's the kind of life I want my child to have. So like when I was weighing all of that stuff out, I had a real like look at the fact that my channel doesn't really generate much of a profit, which that's not why I do this. It is a nice benefit, but when I actually sat down and looked at how much time I was spending filming and editing videos, how much content I was actually posting, and also the revenue that I was generating, it basically boils down to like $1 a video, which again, it's whatever. Like I didn't start this process in hopes to become like world famous and do this full time, but thinking about like what I'm getting out of it versus what I'm putting into it, does it pan out? However, I have found that I really miss it. Like I miss being able to, I would film basically like one morning or one afternoon a weekend, and I just really enjoyed it. I enjoy talking about beauty products. It's what drew me to YouTube in the first place. I don't have people in my regular existence that are into beauty and body products the way I am. I'm kind of an anomaly in my personal life. So that's what drew me to YouTube in the first place, and then wanting to produce content because that's what I love to talk about. And I don't have other people besides you all that I can do that with. So I am going to continue. I have no idea what this is gonna look like when I actually have a human that I'm like solely responsible for. But I do plan on continuing to post videos. I don't think I will have a set schedule by any means, but I do plan on posting content for as long as I can. I doubt I will pre-film. I'm barely doing regular filming, let alone pre-filming. So I'm sure I'll probably take a hiatus a little bit once my baby is born. But for now, that is where we are at. So if that's it, that's all you wanted to hear about, thank you for being here. I will see you later. But if you want to know more about the nuts and bolts of my pregnancy journey, it's really weird to say. I'm still not used to saying that. Let's go ahead and dive in. So I'll start first with before I was actually pregnant. So Ben and I started trying to conceive back in April of 2021, and I found out that I was pregnant in May, which was really wild. I went into it not thinking that I would get pregnant that quickly. I thought it would take a lot longer. I don't know why I necessarily feel that way. I think part of it might be the fact that I hear a lot about people having fertility issues. I think that's become much more mainstream to talk about, and a lot of people that I have followed on YouTube in the beauty community who have become mothers have had fertility struggles. So I just was very fortunate that that's not the path that I was on, and I was able to get pregnant really quickly. I actually was using an app because I will also admit, I felt like when we started this process, I knew a lot about how to not get pregnant, but I didn't necessarily know a lot about how to intentionally get pregnant, which that sounds so strange to say, but I mean, in most of my sex ed classes, they weren't like, well, this is how it happens and here's how you prevent it. It was just like, here's how we're not gonna get pregnant. And so I, with the help of Ben, found an app called Nausea that I was using, which is basically a ovulation tracker. So I used that in the first month. I also, because I wasn't entirely certain if the app was going to work, I used ovulation sticks. I got the ones from First Response, I believe, is the ones I was able to get from my local CVS. And I was using those basically to see, like, was the app truly accurate? And I will say the app was pretty good, but my first month just using the app, I didn't get pregnant. There could be a correlation there. There could not be. And the second month that I was trying to conceive and then did conceive, I found that the sticks were about a day different from what the app was. So I was able to, again, conceive the second month. So I think the sticks were helpful. And I think perhaps if I had done the sticks first, I might have been able to lean solely on the app afterwards, but I just happened to go about it in a different way because I have a husband who works in technology, so he's all about the apps. So then when it kind of came to like actually finding out, using Nausea, it tells you based on when you were ovulating, when you could then take a pregnancy test. So I took an early detection pregnancy test, and I took it about 3 days before what was supposed to be my expected start of my menstrual cycle. And Ben had said to me, he was like, why are you taking a pregnancy test? Like, it's so unnecessary. You can just find out in a few days if you don't get your period, like, you'll know. And I was like, no. Gotta do it. So I woke up the first morning that the app told me I could likely take a test to find out a result. And I took it, and Ben was just laying in bed, and I was, in the bathroom. And all of a sudden, I walked into the bedroom and I looked at it, and it said I was pregnant. And it was so funny because Ben thought I was screwing with him. He was like, no, like, there's no way. Like, we haven't been trying for that long. Like, there's just no way. And I was like, no, like, this is what it says. Like, this is what it says. It says I'm pregnant. Like, it was wild. I couldn't even believe it. It was so bizarre and so strange to me to think about that. I mean, there was at that point a human, like there was another human being inside of my body. It was a really surreal moment, and I was really excited. Ben was really excited, but then it like hit me that I was like, wait a second, there's a person inside me now. Like, I'm gonna have to, like, we're gonna have to do this. This is gonna be a thing. And it was just a weird collection of emotions hitting me all at once. The other thing that was really strange was when I called my doctor to say I had gotten a positive pregnancy test, I was under the impression that you would go in like that day and they would take my blood or take my urine to confirm that it wasn't an actual, like a false positive, or that I was really pregnant. And I found out my doctor didn't want to see me for like another 3 or so weeks. So I was like, wait a second, like I'm pretty sure I'm pregnant. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Like, and I'm not gonna see you for 3 weeks. what can I do? What can I do? Like, I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about being pregnant. I don't have any friends in my life who have had children yet. The women that I'm friends with at work, they have had kids, but we don't share like the intimate details of that, which it's fine. We're work colleagues. So I was navigating really new territory, and it was a weird position to be in because I had kind of gotten to a place where I was training for my second weightlifting competition. So I was doing really rigorous weightlifting workouts. I was watching my diet really carefully so that I wouldn't gain a ton of weight and make sure I could make my weight because the meet was going to be in August. So I was kind of like looking ahead at the horizon of when my meet was going to be. And now obviously that meet was not going to be with something that I was going to compete in. So it was just like a weird place to navigate, especially because I'm very aware that the competing that I was doing and the type of working out that I was doing is not common during pregnancy. I've never seen another woman pregnant doing those kinds of workouts. I also don't see a lot of women in general doing it, but it doesn't matter. So I was just in this like weird limbo where I didn't know what I should or shouldn't do. I also wanted to tell people, but I didn't want to tell people just because, again, like I felt to myself, like, am I really pregnant? Like, are we really doing this? So it was the hardest thing for me to do, especially to not tell my mother, because I talked to her almost every single day and she knew Ben and I were trying to conceive, but she wasn't pushing, she wasn't prying for information. It was more just like me feeling like I didn't want to tell her just yet, because I also wanted to be able to like surprise her and make it this really special moment, yada, yada, yada. So that was basically what I was dealing with. Prior to taking the pregnancy test, I had not felt any nausea. I didn't get sick at all. I wasn't having any aversions to anything. The only thing that had made me think I could be pregnant was I was exhausted. Like I've never experienced this kind of exhaustion. Like I was leaving school and going to the gym and I could barely get through my workouts. And I was doing a lot of weight, but I wasn't doing weight that I shouldn't be able to handle when I was lifting, but it felt like it was taking every ounce of my energy. And then I would go home and it would be like 4:00 and I'd probably eat something, take a shower. And I'd say to Ben, like, I'm going to go to bed. And he was like, you're going to go to bed? I'm like, yeah, like I'm just like really tired. And I would just pass right out. So that was sort of my confirmation that like that must be pregnancy related, because I've never really been like that before. So there we have like my initial finding out story. I'll say overall, I can sum up my pregnancy by saying I think I'm relatively boring. I, throughout my whole first trimester and thus far, have been very fortunate that I've not had any morning sickness. I've not had any nausea. I still have not had any food aversion. I haven't had any like weird cravings for things. The cravings that I have are mostly for salty food, which is what I would normally crave during a menstrual cycle. So I haven't really had anything like super unique or exotic or really difficult to deal with. I would say the first trimester, I was just naturally tired, but I was still able to exercise. I was still able to work out. I talked to my doctor about how to continue my workouts, and she basically was like, you were doing this kind of rigorous training before being pregnant, so you can maintain the training. You just have to sort of change your weight, which was honestly probably the most difficult thing for me. It has been having to change my workout style, because I, in my first trimester, was really conservative with working out. I mean, for example, I was deadlifting multiple sets, multiple reps of 255 pounds for deadlifts. And as soon as I basically found out for real that I was pregnant, when I saw her and she confirmed with an ultrasound that I was pregnant around week 8 of my pregnancy, that I just stopped deadlifting entirely, because I was just really afraid of doing something. Even though she told me I probably could continue doing it, I was just really nervous, because again, I don't expect any OBG to know all the ins and outs about the fitness world, but especially like the niche weightlifting community. It's not like when I say weightlifting, I'm picking up 10-pound dumbbells and like doing jumping jacks with them. I mean, I was lifting sometimes twice my body weight, and I understand how demanding that is on my body. My body was also growing a person, and I wanted to have a nice, hospitable environment for that person to thrive in. So eventually, after cooling down a little bit, I worked with my father, who helped get me into the sport originally. And again, he's no expert, but we talked a lot about taking this opportunity with my pregnancy to build my body in a slightly different way, where I wouldn't have to wear a weightlifting belt, that I would build my strength and do much lower weight, but not rely on a belt to help me lift that weight, which I had been relying on my belt prior to that. So as it stands right now, I'm deadlifting about week 27, about 165 pounds, which used to be like warm up weight, but I think it's still really good for me and it's not harming me. I'm using really good form. I'm very cognizant about all of that, but really it has been a mental, physical shift to know that I was no longer going to be able to maintain the level of strength I had before. And it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. Like I'm hosting a human being in my body. And that's something I've wanted to do. I want to be a mother. I've wanted to do it for all of my life. And so it's just a temporary change of dynamics, but it was really hard to swallow at first, because on the other side of this, as you can imagine, I am gaining weight. And so it's been really difficult to gain weight while working out, and knowing that the weight I'm gaining, it's not all entirely baby. Some of it's like my metabolism is slowing down because I'm not working out at the same rate. So I have to just really adjust to all of that. So it's been a lot of that kind of struggle that I've had, but not like the typical struggles many pregnant women probably face in regards to like nausea and all of that kind of stuff. The other like mental thing I never really thought much about until I was pregnant was that you don't look pregnant for a really long time. Ben and I have been doing weekly photos, and I'll say for until like, I think week 18, I didn't really look that different. And I kept being like, do I look pregnant yet? And he'd be like, no. And I'd be like, do I look pregnant yet? And he'd be like, nope, try again. And the only time I'd really like look pregnant during those first early weeks is because I was getting really bloated. Bloating has been really difficult for me, and constipation have been a big part of my pregnancy, unfortunately. Not very uncommon according to what my doctor tells me. And she points out like your body is doing so much that it's hard for it to navigate the newness that you've got. She was like, you've got DNA in your body that your body has never interacted with. So that's changing the dynamics of what you got going on. She was like, your body is also under a lot of demands right now. So it's not uncommon for your digestion to become problematic, which definitely sucks, because looking pregnant when it's just bloat, it hits differently. Needing to get maternity clothes because you are going to bloat throughout the day, not as cute as when it's just like an actual, because the baby has grown so much. So that was a different thing I didn't expect. Of course, now looking at me, as you can see in my, I think it's like my week 25 photo that I have, I like look pregnant now. Like you look at me and there's probably not a question that I'm pregnant anymore. Whereas for a long time, I think some people might have thought I looked a little different, but wasn't sure if I had just gained weight or if it was that I was actually pregnant. The other thing that we opted to do is how we told our parents is I went on Etsy and I had little onesies made, and Ben and I took a trip up to Maine so that we could, on my mother's birthday, which was June 12th, and it's also my father's birthday a few days earlier. So I wrapped up the onesie and my mom opened it up on her birthday, which was really exciting because this is her first grandchild. So of course, I'll show you the picture of her. She's just like sobbing and my dad was sobbing. It was a really beautiful moment, which was really exciting. Again, because it also happened so quickly. And she had said, she was like, I thought you might be pregnant because you didn't tell me anything and I didn't want to pry and I wasn't sure, but I thought you had taken a pregnancy test and you just weren't saying anything about it. So it was really fun, and the onesies are really, really cute. We also, Ben's parents are divorced, so we went over to his grandparents' house where his mother and stepfather were, and we again gave the gift and totally surprised them. Ben's mother is overjoyed at becoming a grandparent. This is also her first grandchild, and she has wanted Ben and I to have kids for actual years. Like I think it's been probably at least 8 years. She has asked us when we were going to have children, so she was just absolutely overjoyed, screaming excitement, which was really fun. And then we told Ben's dad on Father's Day. We gave him his onesie wrapped up as a Father's Day gift. And he was totally surprised by it as well, because we hadn't really told him at all that we had been trying to conceive. So he was really caught off guard, which was really fun. And then for my sister, I had actually purchased off of Amazon a little scratch tickets. The scratch tickets are like a thing in my family. And so I went over to her house with Ben and we gave her the scratch ticket and she scratched it off. And she was very excited. She actually has security cameras in her house. So she saved on her security camera footage. She downloaded it off of there, the reveal that we did for her. And she's like played it a bunch of times. She's really, really into it, which has been really fun. She plans on not having any children. So she's all in on being an aunt, which is really exciting to see. So that's how we let everyone know. But I had opted to not announce it on social media or tell other people of our family about it until I reached the end of my first trimester. I just wanted to play it a little bit conservatively. Again, this is my first pregnancy. I have no idea how my body's gonna react to anything. I had no idea where we were headed with any of this. It was so new territory to me. So I opted for the air of caution. And so once we hit the end of the first trimester, which is about 3 months into your pregnancy, and your rate of having a miscarriage or having complications in your pregnancy goes down, I felt more comfortable having us share it. So that's when we were able to post it on social media and have the rest of our family brought into the fold on it. And everyone in my family is really excited. I have a really old family. Like, for example, I'm 32, my dad's 75. So I have a lot of much older cousins than me. Like, I have second cousins who are close to my age, if not exactly my age. So we haven't had a baby in the family in a really, really long time, which is really exciting. And then for Ben's dad's side of the family, Ben and I are the first to have a child. So it's really exciting to see like their reactions. I mean, our baby is so fortunate that Ben has both sets of his grandparents alive. So our baby is going to have great grandparents. Like, that's just amazing. I mean, Ben grew up with great grandparents for most of his life, which is so cool. So I'm really excited to see that experience, because I'm somebody who didn't grow up with grandparents really. They had passed away when I was young, or they had Alzheimer's most of my life. So I didn't get the same relationship that I know Ben has with many grandparents in his life, which is really cool. As far as trimester 2 is concerned, I definitely got energy back. I was fortunate, it being my first trimester in the summer, that I took a lot of naps. I wouldn't say I was exhausted. Like, it wasn't the type of exhaustion I described to you before I found out I was pregnant, but I definitely think, like, just not having to work, and after the crazy school year I had the year before, that I was just really tired in general. And I don't know how much of it was pregnancy or how much of it was just me being exhausted from teaching during a heightened pandemic year. So I definitely noticed I had more energy. I haven't been taking naps. I still didn't have any nausea, didn't have any food cravings, none of that stuff. The only thing I did deal with, which was unpleasant, was kidney stones. It turns out I had kidney stones like 10 years ago at this point, very early in my 20s, to the point that they had to be surgically removed from my body. Super fun. And it was a calcium stone. So they don't really know what causes those, but I did a whole lifestyle change because I will be honest, I wasn't super healthy. I wasn't really working out, wasn't eating great. So I made a lot of changes and haven't had any kidney stones since. So I wouldn't consider myself to have a history, but I, out of nowhere, got excruciating pain. I thought was indigestion, but as soon as I got like sweaty and a little nauseous, I was brought back to 10 years ago when I had had my kidney stones. So I immediately went to the hospital, and kidney stones while pregnant are really not fun because they can't basically give you any medication. They also can't do a CT scan of you, which is the quickest way and most effective way to find out where your kidney stones are, how big they are. But again, radiation, not good with babies. So they were unable to do that for me. The only thing I could really be given in the hospital was Tylenol, and they did an ultrasound of my kidneys. This was Not fun, to say the least. And I was admitted into the hospital basically just to watch me, because being pregnant, they wanted to make sure the baby wasn't under any distress and that I was able to pass the stone. Unfortunately, I was discharged only to reemerge back at the ER a couple of days later because I had a second stone. And it was then that they were able to deduce that I probably shouldn't be taking a calcium vitamin, which is what my OBG had initially asked me to take, since I'm not a big dairy consumer in my regular life. And so growing a human need a lot of calcium for their bones, my bones, everybody's bones. So they told me to stop taking it, and I have since been referred to a urologist, which has been interesting because, again, they're monitoring me, but the reality is there's not a whole lot they can do. And fortunately, it seems like I've been able to pass the two. And fortunately, I was able to pass the 2 stones without any interventions, because that would have been a really complicated process being pregnant. So I'm very glad I didn't have to cross any of those roads. And again, I'm off that vitamin now, and I think that that has helped. And hopefully I can remain kidney stone free for the rest of my pregnancy. We also, around that time, had our 20-week anatomy scan, which was really exciting because when you first see the baby, it's just like, I don't know, like a little blob. Like, it doesn't even look like a human. And then I had another check at like 12 weeks, and it looks like a human, but it's like this big inside of you. It's tiny. Like, they blow it up to make it look like it's something substantial, and it looks human-esque, but it's still tiny, minute little human. But when you get to week 20, like, you got a baby there. And that's when I started showing. I like had like the tiniest little bit of a bump. And it was super fun because we also found out the gender. Ben and I are having a girl, which I am so excited about. I was really rooting for a girl. I know people are like, you just want it to be healthy. And it's like, no, I do. But I know girls. I love girls. I just think it would be so fun to have a girl. And so I was really excited to find that out. It was definitely challenging for them to deduce that she was a girl because she was being very difficult during the 20-week scan. They had to like flip me over and like press on me to get her to turn around and like reveal herself, because she was all curled up with her spine facing my belly button, and her head and face were facing towards my back, which is not ideal for the anatomy scan. But they checked. It's kind of amazing what they have access to. Like, they checked her kidneys, her liver, they looked at her brain, they counted all of her hands and toes. Like, the works were done on her. And it was just really exciting. Ben has only been allowed to come to my ultrasounds because they do those at the hospital that I'm delivering at. But all of the rest of my appointments, Ben is not allowed to go to, because my doctor's office, their policy is that there's not enough space for all of us to be there, even with masks on and vaccinations. So that's been really unfortunate. I didn't think at this point in the pandemic with vaccinations and all of that, that he wouldn't be allowed to come. And I think it's been so sad that I couldn't have him a part of the process entirely, but he at least can be at those really cool and exciting ultrasounds, because let's be honest, those are the visits that are more engaging and there's more to interact with versus the ones where it's like weighing me, measuring my stomach, checking in on me, that kind of stuff. But that was really exciting, only to then like have kidney stones right afterwards, which was pretty lame. But I will definitely say we are now in week 27. So I'm pretty sure that's the last week of trimester 2. And so far things are, I think, going pretty well. I'm definitely curious to see where things head. As it stands right now, I am set to give birth in early February. But as you probably know, birth is not up to me. It's whenever she wants to enter the world. So we'll see if it's going to be early, if it's going to be late, where she ends up. And I'm also really excited because I just yesterday was able to schedule my next ultrasound, which will be in the first week of December when I'm around 31 weeks, I think it is. It's very, like, side note, it's very strange counting weeks. Like, at this point in my pregnancy, it's hard to remember all the like week by week play by play. I'm used to counting things by months, and weeks just start to get a little bit like complicated. I tend to like forget what week we are. If I didn't have my little sign, I would definitely not remember. So I'm pretty sure it's around week 31 we get to see her again. So it'll have been a full 11 weeks since I've seen her, and she definitely has gotten bigger. My stomach is bigger. Most people will tell me it looks like a basketball underneath my shirt, which thank you. I've been trying real hard to balance growing a human and not becoming ginormous. But I definitely know she's gotten bigger because the movement has been off the chain the last couple of weeks. I was feeling movement around week 17, but now it's to the point where basically when I wake up in the morning, I feel her kicking. During the day, like as I am starting to get hungrier, I feel her moving around, and then she is real busy at night. Like right now, as I'm talking to you guys, it's nighttime and she is moving around in there. I don't know if she's doing cartwheels. I don't know if she's trying to push on my uterus to like create more space because things are cramped in there, or if she's just doing all kinds of different things. But I definitely will say, like, as I'm trying to go to bed at night, she starts to be like, woo, we're gonna party it up. And like, I get lots of kicks. Ben will put his hand on my stomach and he can feel them. We're not at a place where you can tell if it's a hand or a foot, but you can definitely, when she starts to get moving, you can see my stomach moving around. It is most certainly not something I am used to. I don't think I will ever get used to it. It is a wild experience to feel something other of you inside moving around, but it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I also will say overall, I haven't been super emotional. I don't know what it is. I would say that I'm the kind of person where I get really angry or frustrated, it tends to come out in tears. So you would think that, or at least I would think that I would be more emotional pregnant, but I haven't been. It's just, I think, been more excitement. Like I'm just really excited. I'm definitely nervous. There's a lot of things I've never experienced before. Like labor is going to be quite an experience, but we've been trying to educate ourselves and learn how we can go through the process together. I won't be the first or last pregnant person to deliver a human being, but it's just definitely overwhelming because I am not medical. I'm a literary human for a reason. And so a lot of the medical stuff that we have learned about, it's just a lot. It's a lot to take in for me, but it's just been really fun overall. And I'm trying my best to enjoy being pregnant, even though I just am navigating such brand new waters. Being a mother is really overwhelming. Like, how will I do all of that? But I know in the end, Ben and I will be a good team and we'll balance each other out. So that's what I've been up to. Like, that's it. That's the whole gambit. I'm sure I miss things, but I feel like I've been talking for ages. If you are still here, bless your soul. Thank you for listening to my whole story and journey. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. I am not planning on focusing much on my pregnancy or switching my channel by any means. I still want to talk about like products I've used up, but if there is a real desire to get more of a pregnancy update from me as I start to navigate my third trimester, let me know in the comments and I will be happy to share. But I so appreciate you being here, and I very much appreciate your patience as I try to figure out where my channel is going when it comes to being able to film, because I genuinely do love it. I do love talking about products that I'm panning, talking about makeup that I've used up, talking about the occasional wax and books on my channel, and I don't want to lose it, but I know that it can be annoying sometimes to have someone that you're subscribed to be really spotty with their content production. So thank you in advance for your acceptance and tolerance and patience of me, and I will hopefully talk to you in my next video real soon. Bye.